No? Yeah. I now call our session, convention session to order. May we observe a moment of silence, please. Roll call, Chief Clerk.
Delegate Albert. Delegate Arnold.
Present.
Thank you. Delegate Asher. Delegate
Here. Aye.
Delegate Cancero. Delegate Chur.
Morning, Present.
Delegate Fritz.
Thank you, I'm here.
Delegate Ashiguchi.
Sure, aye.
Vice President Isananka Neriarte. Delegate Kanto.
For the last time, Nagli.
Thank you. Delegate Louis.
Hey, my.
Delegate Martin.
Good morning.
Delegate Mori. Delegate Nabayan.
Here.
Delegate Naij.
Here, thank you.
Delegate Palsis.
Thank you, President.
Delegate Rison.
Sure, aye.
Thank you. Delegate Simon.
Hey, my.
Delegate Samo.
Morning, I'm here.
Morning. Delegate Sigra. Tuwa, thank you. Delegate Susaya. Delegate Takasi. Floor Leader Yatilman.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. President Kilian.
Here.
Delegate Mori.
Good morning. I'm here.
Mr. President, 20 delegates are present.
Thank you, Chief Clerk. Therefore, we have the needed quorum to transact business on this last day of our convention. Proceeding on, item 4, adoption of journals. Chief, Mr. Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the journal of the 42nd day and 44th day of our convention.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the said journals be adopted. Discussion? If no discussion, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. So moving on, our
Mr.
order.
President.
Yes, Mr. Floor Leader.
I also move that the convention authorize the officers of the convention to review and adopt the journal of the day after this convention adjourns in the time.
It's been moved and seconded that the convention authorize the officers to review and approve the journal of today's meeting. Was seconded. Discussion. If none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Mr. Floor Leader.
I move that we suspend the order of the day and jump to item 14.
It has been moved and seconded that we suspend the order of the day that we have in front of us and come down to item 14, which is miscellaneous business.
Mr. President?
Yes, discussion. General Fritz.
Okay, let's put on
Okay, just, all right, if no, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried, so we are now on item 14. Thank you. General Fritz.
Thank you very much. I rise on a point of privilege, if I may. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Pilo, Pyro, Brabor, Nelsi, Sonalikan, Salvador Riarte, Nurse Albert, Chief Nabayan, and Savokairit,
honorable delegates and staff, several days ago, our colleague, the Honorable Nixon Bossy, announced our arrival to Palawan and to this great state of ours, one of the state of arrival of our canoe, all of us, in a song that sum up our mission here as charged by our Jewish residents, that we are here not to cause destructions to our people, lands, and trees, but rather we come to renew the bonds of friendship, to strengthen unity among ourselves that our forefathers forged with yours and as supported by our people in the first plebiscite or referendum for our constitution. As we are about to leave our beloved capital, Palawan, we are called again to launch our canoes, all of us back into the sea, so we can travel safely back home to our beloved loved ones and our people. Having worked with you all in this forum, we hope to have satisfactorily accomplished and strengthened the bonds of friendships existed even before our Constitution came into force by our ancient ancestors. We would like to bid farewell to you all using the universal language with a farewell song in the hope that during our working together here, we have renewed old friendships, made new ones, and most importantly, we will pray with a sincere and humble request to you all to continue to maintain these human bonds of friendships and to pass them on to our future posterity. God is always good, and praise Him for giving us this spot of the world as our home. Thank you, and may I call my colleague to please come forward. We're going to do our song, farewell song. Please. Tarok.
Get that, get that.
So we're going to launch our boat back, which we brought it up when we came here. So please bear with us.
Okay, we're pass.
So when we finish, we turn around and pause the video. Ya magudwaro! Oh! Epelewel nila! Ha! Evras po iyo! Evras po! Oh! Evras po wera! Ha! Evras po tiya! Woo! Ya tayo ko. Hiro hiro Rodine inichi Arato webka
Thank you very much, and members of our Czech delegation. We just did a very meaningful gesture. Thank you. And although I was not joining you physically, but in spirit, I was with you and singing in my heart. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, Chairman Bayan.
Thank you. It's difficult to follow the Czech delegation now. I think the organization of the room. But, Mr. President, I want you a point of privilege. And on behalf of floor leader Andrew Yetton, Vice Chairman Andrew Andich and I want to express a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation that the YAP delegation has. For you, Mr. President, for Vice President Iso Nanakan Uriarte, for the rest of the officers, and for the convention staff. The able leadership of the officers and the dedicated efforts of the staff have guided us through what has been the longest and probably one of the most uniquely challenging convention this country has ever seen. COVID interrupted the convention. During the COVID-induced recess, we woefully saw the untimely passing of two fellow delegates. And on the home stretch, we had to grapple through the challenges of a hybrid virtual in-person format. But despite these challenges, the leadership, dedication, diligence, and yes, at times, the stoic patience of the officers and the staff have brought us to the finish line. We also want to thank the chairpersons and other key leaders of all the delegations. There were times during this convention when we came up on what seemed to be rigid impasses, when the positions of the delegations seemed too far apart and appeared unbridgeable. But your prudence, reason, flexibility, and acumen helped us find common grounds and move us beyond the impasses. Finally, we want to thank all the committee chairpersons and all the delegates. All the committees and all the delegates did their part to ensure a successful and meaningful convention. The proposals that we have passed and their import and significance within all corners of this nation and beyond are proofs of the hard work and unwavering efforts that you expended. So again, Mr. President, on behalf of the YAP delegation, I thank you, all the officers, all the delegates, and all the convention staff. This has been a successful convention, in spite of all the challenges we had to endure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Chief Mabayan, for the
privilege.
Thank you.
Mr.
Delegate
Chairman,
Martin.
Mr. President, oh, okay.
Thank you very much, President Kalin. My heartfelt respect to Mr. Nandan, President Kalin, the rest of the officers, all delegates and all the staff. On behalf of Delegate Louis, I would like to ask that we welcome and recognize Delegate Louis' lady, who works behind him and makes him what he is today. And she is with us in the gallery. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Delegate Martin.
Thank you very much, Delegate Martin, for that recognition of the other half of Vice Chairman Lewis.
Mr. President,
Yes, Madam Chair, Cindy, Maury, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. President. I would like to bid a good morning to everyone. On behalf of myself and the troop delegation, although they can all speak as well. Raranim, bemwen metats redisin, ubaba sa giriso girigot, reratun me ubabas. Tiro waro te delegates redisin, a kawin, seriats a state of chuk. Ubabar fakura basay kaboget Iran igerei fidei giriso metong ngeriutian arabasir faijuk medicine toridos kewe neuisin non municipality toridos kewe muera ika sobirit not bekir already ubabar kabong ngeri CHS delegates seriats kewe sister states Seriat Pohnpei Mekosrai. My respect to our very own Naniken Salvador Iriarte. If you may, I respectfully request a moment of silence and remembrance for our late delegates, Chairman Peter Sitan and Chairman Camilo Noguet. His Excellency President David Panuelo, His Excellency Vice President Yosua George, and honorable cabinet members, Honorable Speaker Wesley Simina, and the members of the 22nd FSM Congress, and most especially to my esteemed and respected colleagues and delegates to the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, President of the 4th CONCON, Mr. Redley Killian, Vice President, His Majesty Iso Salvador Iriarte, Honorable Floor Leader Andrew Yatilman, my fierce delegation representing our state of Truk State Governor Alexander Naroon, and Lieutenant Governor Mikyoshi William, members of our Truk State Legislature, my dearest Trukese people, all the esteemed citizens of the Federated States of Micronesia at home, and most especially those that are far away from home, with utmost respect, I bid you all a wonderful and heartfelt good morning. It is a prestigious day indeed to be here amongst all of you, honorable delegates. It is an emotional one, but it is a good day. I bid good morning to both who are present in Pohnpei and those of you who are abroad. My utmost gratitude to our wonderful convention and legal staff. Thank you for making this final day possible. Without your daily tasks and earnest diligence, the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention would not see the completion of this auspicious undertaking. I would also like to recognize the state and the people of Pohnpei for being a most formidable and wonderful host to the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention and her delegates. Thank you, Pohnpei. I also choose to thank my family, who are the greatest source of my strength and perseverance, and without whom nothing in this world would be worthwhile. My parents, now deceased, Natsa and Sabina Siren, my siblings, John, Henry, Natsa Jr., Casey, Dorothy, Sally, Mimi, Ida, my children, Yvonne, Desiree, Asia Dawn, Shermik, Alvin, Sean, Taka Jr., Joshua, and Sachi, and my precious grandchildren, my families from the majestic region of Taichuk, my families in the Royal Islands of Southern Navorias, and my origin of being in the Kutu Islands of the Mortlocks, my second home in Saipan, Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands, all my wonderful friends and acquaintances, I am eternally grateful and carry you all in my heart. This task we have successfully completed is monumental. Never again will the exact circumstances repeat themselves. From these wonderful, intelligent, wise, regal, inspirational, innovative, and loyally patriotic delegates to the exact situations we face currently and our collective efforts to refine or enhance our FSM Constitution to address how these measures affect and protect our good citizens. I am beyond proud to be here with all of you today to mark the completion of a task that will remain long after we have gone. The proposed amendments we have meticulously labored to bring forth is representative of our determination to forge ahead as a nation, responsible to every single citizen, holding all equally paramount and indispensable. With utmost respect, I bid you all, dear delegates, farewell until the next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson Ori, for the nice statement you had just made. Thank you.
Chairperson.
Yes. Chairman Parsis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a prepared statement, but I want to make a brief statement representing the
state of Kusai and my two other delegates to take this time to express our most sincere appreciation for our participation in the process. First, I would like to pay my respect to President Gillian and Vice President Diesel and all the esteemed delegates of the fourth FSM Constitutional Convention. My experience in the participation of the fourth FSM Convention has given me great pleasure and a very educational opportunity to learn from each and every one of you. Though we have diverged in many ways, we were able to work together and to learn from each other. Those, as shown by the 8 proposals that we had adopted during the CONCON, and that we all deserve to be recognized for the work that we had invested. At this time, I would also like to recognize the staff for the dedicated time and efforts that they put into the work before us during the convention. If it weren't for your cooperative support and dedication, we would not have been able to come this far. So with all the support, I take it, and I will take all this time that we have shared together and will cherish them through my lifetime. Truly, in God we trust, in God we pray, and in God we lead. As we are parting today, after we adjourn Senate, I say for those that will stay behind, I say stay safe, and for those that are leaving, fly safe. Again, I thank you and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Passes, for that nice statement.
Mr. President.
Yes, Chairman Albert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chairman Simon will speak on behalf of the Bombay delegation, but bear with me as I have a short message to also share.
Go ahead.
Allow me a moment of your time to say my last personal remark on the record. I pay my utmost respect to ISO, Chief Natayan, you, President, officers, and distinguished delegates. Since today is our last day of plenary, words cannot express the sense of gratitude I have for each and every one of you delegates. I am so privileged to come to know during the past 2 years and learn from. I can only say Kalangan and Kupuramay Koros. Our journey together has been one that I appreciate with full sincerity. With 8 proposed amendments adopted, I now look forward to the referendum where the people will be given the unabated freedom either to ratify all, some, a few, or none at all. We have fulfilled our duty called upon us to review and adopt proposals to amend our Constitution for the betterment of our citizens of the Federal States of my creation. I truly believe that each of us came here with an agenda. For myself, the main reason why I decided to run as a delegate is to bring justice to a segment of our population who have become marginalized due to their place of birth. I am talking about my eldest daughter and many of her kind, who due to circumstances beyond her control was born in the States, in a little town called La Crane, eastern part of Oregon. I met my wife in college there, and we were blessed with our firstborn on November 13, 1995. She is now a 27-year-old American living in FSM in a Pompeian body. Like many of her kind, her blood is pure my creation with roots from my
La Salle clan bloodline in Moon, the Dugundane bloodline in Madaling, the Sonkawat bloodline in Madaling, her mother's bloodline of Feven, her mother's bloodline of Lugnot, and Natal in Chuk. Not a single drop of American blood runs through her veins, and yet she has less rights than her younger siblings. Despite the fact that she has not stepped one foot on American soil since her birth and living in Pohnpei her entire life. By law, she cannot own my land and she cannot vote. In 1975, when the first delegates to the first FSM Constitutional Convention approved the very first FSM Constitution, there was no children of her class, as the conduct of free association did not exist. The only people that were going abroad were those who were sent out to get educated, to assist the trust territory government provide services to the Micronesian people. 3 years later, in 1978, the people of the soon-to-be newly formed Federated States of Micronesia ratified the Constitution by a simple majority vote. In it was a seed, insignificant to the eye at the time, but one that would sprout and grow into a tree of division, becoming a political tool by some to marginalize Micronesians because of their place of birth. My apology if my next comment will offend anyone, but some past leaders have spoken against these children through published articles convicting them of disloyalty, unpatriotic, lacking the decency of true Micronesians. Former President John Aklelkam, in an open letter to the Kasalelia Press, wrote, and I quote, "To me, the essence of country, the national sovereignty, and the continual development of nationalism are paramount. I do not want to sacrifice the essence of our country for the sake of enabling my grandchildren to acquire dual citizenship. Is it worth enacting dual citizenship for these people and risk allowing foreigners who are able to acquire dual citizenship for FSM and their respective countries to own land in our country?" Unquote. The true essence of his stance is clearly depicted in the last sentence, where he imprudently argued that dual citizenship will risk having foreigners acquire FSM citizenship and own land. For the record, the proposal on dual citizenship is limited only to children of Micronesian blood and those like my daughter who was born in the States. The worst part of President Aklelkam's view stems from the fact that he preconceived that these children will lack loyalty, thereby abating our national sovereignty. This is so untrue, and my daughter is a living proof that President Aklelkam's view, in my personal opinion, is a reflection of his own inner character and one that belongs to a bygone era. I say to you all, the worst insult to a Micronesian, a Pohnpeian for the matter, is to strip him of his identity, which goes against the very fabric of our customs and tradition. Unfortunately, this is exactly what is happening in this day and age on a daily basis. And every day, an innocent daughter who does not know that the existing law requires her to give up her citizenship by the age of 21 or risk becoming a foreigner on her own land continues to be the legacy they inherit from us. This must change, and I appeal to all decent Micronesians to look into your hearts and bring back our lost family members. I express deep gratitude to the Convention for passing the proposed amendment on the eligibility to run for Congress. On its face, it limits the bull, but in reality, it answers the fear that anyone can run for Congress. If the dual citizenship proposal passes along with the proposal, the fear that those citizens who are residents of other countries can run for Congress is inaccurate, there is a residency requirement of 5 years where any candidate must show that before he runs for Congress, he or she must demonstrate or show proof that he has resided in the FSM for the past 5 years before his candidacy. And to me, this answers the question of loyalty and patriotism, if you think deeply about it. I truly look forward to participating in the public awareness campaign, and I hope that we as delegates will speak one language in spreading the right message to all the proposals passed, especially on this very controversial issue. Thank you, my friend Delegate Canto, for introducing the proposal to improve the eligibility requirement for candidates running for Congress. On a personal note, I want to thank all staff for your hard work in helping us accomplish our task. Though some of you may think your role is limited, I can assure you that without you, this convention would not have accomplished its objectives. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Kathy, for keeping the patience to provide the best advice to get us through. Thank you, Kapli, and your staff for the hard work and tolerating some of the misfortunes that come your way as you guide this convention throughout the pandemic. And thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, fellow delegates. Simon, please speak on our behalf.
Thank you very much, Chairman Albert, for the nice statement you guys just made. Yes, Chairman Simon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Mr. Rodamapan, Kubron, Nos, everyone, good morning. I'd like Mr. Balsis, I do not have a prepared statement because I was told when I was walking in that I was supposed to make a statement. So it will be like Mr. Balsis, it will be impromptu. So on behalf of ISO, Nos, Delegate Albert, Salwana, Delegate Martin, Kamikinan, Delegate Louis, Marawan Awak Pa, Delegate Cantero, and myself, si Pumwe Makuchi. Thank you for having spent the past year, months, weeks with us over 2020 and now. ISO would have given the speech on behalf of our group, but because of medical and now I understand traditional reasons, obligations, is unable to join us. The past few weeks and those weeks 2 years ago have been great. It has been very informative. It has been very good for us, all of us. We look forward to the product of the work that we've done. We look forward to working with the educators. We look forward to working with the voters eventually. And we hope that at the end of the rainbow, we'll have some results from the 8 proposals that we had put together. So, Mr. President, on behalf of the Pohnpei delegation, it's an anthem of much, Pohnpei. We thank you. We thank you, the officers, all the delegations, the 4 delegations. We thank the staff. ISO thanks Kathy, Ms. Birch, and your legal staff. Without you, this convention would have been very, very hard for us. We know that many people in the community felt that they should have been DLC, and I know that for a fact, but I think it would have been different result, or would have been much harder at other people being DLC and those on your staff. ISO would like to further thank Somaga Onolangkiji, Mr. Kapali, who is our secretariat. We are very thankful for the work that you've done, the sacrifices you've done over the 2 years, the dedication even in the problems that we face with the change time with the pandemic of COVID-19 that also affects us. The staff that you have, Mr. Abraham, Mr. Falcon, are very helpful people, along with the pages and those that have been put together at the last minute to help us. We'd like to, so is very thankful also for the chief clerk. You've done a very wonderful job in guiding the staff and the officers in moving this work forward. So is very thankful to the former journal clerk, Adriano Eliezer, who had left for personal reasons one day, and the work that he did during when we first got together. And we'd like to, Mr. is also thankful for our current journal clerk, Crystal Simon, who happens to be my daughter. Don't worry, I didn't hire her. I have no nepotism there. But we're very thankful for every staff, the IT staff. Again, as Delegate Albert said, it might be small what you're doing, or you might think that it's minute, but together, without you, much of this will not be done. He's only been submitting his own statement in writing because his wisdom is something I can convey from his many years of dealing with Pohnpei issues, social issues, and from that he will be submitting a statement directly. But furthermore, all the staff members, we are thankful for you very much. Every person that have been helping this convention over the 2 years. Finally, a personal statement from myself and Sao Wanet for the election district voters of ED2 from Pohnpei. We came in with 11 people seeking 2 posts to be delegates to this convention, and we were elected, and we are thankful for the opportunity to come and sit with you, men and women, to put together what we have put together. We look forward to continuing work with you and thanking you for that trust that you gave us, myself and Sawane. So thank you, Mr. President, again, everyone, and on behalf of Pohnpei, thank you. And Kalangan.
Thank you, Chairman Simon, for that eloquent statement on behalf of Pohnpei delegation. Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Yes, Madam Chair Sibra.
Thank you very much. I have a prepared statement. I'll try to keep it short. President Killian, Vice President Wilson Rankin, Floor Leader Yatelman, Chairman of CAO, Elder, Delegates, Legal Counsel, Secretariat staff, my respect to you all. I look at the order of business today. It says day 45. I highlight it and then I highlight it again for memory. Beautiful day. This is the moment we have been waiting for. Back in 2019, I signed up for 30 to 45 days of convention work. I told my family and my children, it's only going to be 30 or 45 days at the most. I did not anticipate that the 40 days would stretch and spilled into 2021 to today, June 28, 2022. Next time, I will be more careful before I sign up for this kind of line of work. I took an oath on day 1 of the convention. We were all excited. We talked, argued, debated. I realized that whenever I talk about land, the people, women, family, the marginalized group, my tears automatically welled up. Forgive me, those are real tears. I didn't ask the tears to come out, they came out anyway, uninvited. It must have been because I felt the land, the people, women, family. I could feel them. From January 2020 through this moment, it was a long voyage for me. Before getting off this ship, I wish to express my deep gratitude. First, to our Almighty God. Without Him, we are nothing. As I have often heard, if we are in Him, He will be in us. It was a long journey, more than 2 years. I survived. We survived. Thank you, Lord. Second, I thank the people of the Island of the Sleeping Lady for sending one of their sleepless ladies to represent Koshai Election District 1. And the Yappies are looking at me. Yes, we have Election District 1, 2, 3, 4, going on 5. That is to say, from Mutwa to Malem, Lela, Defansak, and Welong. I thank you, people of Koshai, for your trust in me, for giving me this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be your representative, your district delegate to the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention. Third, I thank the convention officers, delegate, legal counsel, staff, each and every one of you. Thank you for all the hard work and the help. We appreciate all the help. And thank you for putting up with me. In Yappies, or in Yap, we say kamakar, na kamakar. In Chuk, we say kinisod chopper, ifaitom. In Tonte, we say kalangan usata, menla kauros. Nagsarabingin ko say, nganimi, here imen, lo kaya kula na malalap. Lapalap, lapalap. I was given the honor of chairing the Committee on General Provisions. I was asked by my daughter during recess, what do you do as a chair for CONCON? I told her I sit on a chair and talk with the other guys that sit on their chairs. I was blessed with brilliant co-chair and brilliant members. They make my work easy. And as is the trade I'm in, I negotiate away with Delegate Andy Coor, who shared the chairmanship with me, where he became known in our committee as the chairman, and I was the chairwoman. It did such a great job. Now we get that sometimes vice chair does a better job than the actual chair, that I told the committee members, I cannot use up all my compensation as a chair. I'm giving half to Andy. One of the members, who is also a chair in our committee, asked me, hey, what's that all about with the chair compensation and all that? How much you got? It was pure joy. I got the same as you, none. I remember telling the late Peter Sitan, who was also joined our committee on general provisions when we have those buffet lunches or breakfast. And I told him that all of those were paid by my rep fund, the committee rep fund. And his eyes went up and said, you have rep funds? How come I didn't? It was spiritual forking funds with these men. I wasn't given any preferential treatment as a woman chair. And that, I would also say that I wasn't given any other treatment as a one woman sitting here among men. During committee meetings, I made sure the Committee on Chibi had good food to enjoy while we deliberate on important proposals for two main reasons. One is that in our sleeping island of the sleeping ladies, meeting means food. Food often wakes up sleeping people. I was trying to showcase Koshaian belief in meeting means food. All we worry about what's on the menu and what's on the agenda. An island state I believe in promoting. There was another reason. I was waiting and hoping to get across, but don't know if any of the members got it. I will just say it now. I was trying to showcase how a woman can chair and cook at the same time. That she can put together a breakfast buffet table and at the same time ready to take her chair to chair. I was promoting women however and wherever I could. I was proud to represent not only Koshai, but women in general, along with my colleague Cindy. All that time I was waiting for any of the members to say something, you cook and you chair? None. Instead I could only hear, wow, this is good food, we made this. Oh, this is the best meal we have so far. And you asked the Tabasco, where is the Tabasco? Man. Mr. President, I have a confession. It's not confession day, but I have a confession. I have been journaling as a means of therapy throughout this voyage. Very short. One of my journals goes, we are into the last few days remaining of the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention. Thank God. Yet we are at it again. My fellow duly elected delegates are arguing on some provisions of the CONCON Rules of Procedure. It seems as if we started off debating on rules of procedure. We have few days left and we are still arguing and debating on the rules of procedure. I don't normally like to get involved in debating on the rules of procedure. I spend enough unpaid time with those rules during the pre-con days. Besides, I was elected by my constituents to work on proposals, not to argue on rules of procedure. Then I heard the President bang his gavel 2 times. Those banging of the gavel, did the President bang his gavel once or twice this time? I wonder. This convention is coming to its end. I haven't learned if there's any meaning behind one banging or 2 or more bangings of the gavels. Then the President opened up the floor for debate. I heard a motion for previous question. I looked to the movement, thought to myself, why does this guy always like to go back to the previous question? And what's the previous question again? Then the President said, motion to stop debate. All those in favor say aye. I was thinking, but we even started debating and we are supposed to close debate. So President opened the door, nobody goes inside, then we close. We didn't get to go in and we were told to come out. A delegate something is better, so we just go in and come out. I was nodding and shaking my head in awe. I was gonna tell him I was still packing my stuff ready to go in and come out already. Next time, in another 10 years, we will be more than ready to go in and rush out. Mr. President, on a different note that sounds more like a delegate and not a journalist, one of my favorite statements in the preamble states, we extend to all nations what we seek from each: peace, freedom, cooperation, and love in our common humanity. Throughout this journey, I felt it. Not all the time, but I felt the sentiments of peace, cooperation, respect, and love in our common humanity. When we gathered as delegates from the 4 states with the common goal of working together toward passage of proposal to amend the Constitution, we morphed ourselves into one FSM, one nation under God. At the end of each day, it was about our people at the ground level, our land, our ocean waters, our beaches, our rivers, our environment, our culture, our institution, our economy, our individual and states' right that we aspire to protect. It is always good to have regulation, statutes, constitution to govern the people. But if we continue to live and work together as one nation under God, if we put together the laws of God as our #1 operating manual, the Bible, we will all prevail. FSM is a country that all 4 states and their people call my country, our country. When it comes to economic development and economic prosperity, every state in this country of FSM is entitled to as much support to grow, prosper, and fully develop to its potential. Sorry, I'm almost done here. 40 years came and gone. We have seen and kept much, and we aspire to achieve and keep more of our resources. COVID came, hit us, and showed us that when we disconnect ourselves from the big countries, we can only resort to what we have before us: our land, our waters, our environment, our people, our present infrastructure, and etc. Let us continue to protect our natural and human resources. It may be day 45, the last day, and as I'm ready to exit, I feel that our work has only begun. We have this proposal that we have worked so hard to pass. Those proposals will be voted on by the people soon. And as once upon a time delegates to the 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, it is incumbent upon us to continue the work we started, to advocate for the passage of each and every proposal. When those proposals, so beautifully worded, elegantly styled by the Committee on Style, get voted on, became official amendments to the Constitution, then only then we say, mission accomplished. May the blessings, grace, and peace of God be with us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Sikra, for a nice statement which you made. Thank you very much. Yes, Chairman Simon.
Thank you, Mr. President. The statement I gave earlier, I meant to add Nanbaratak Matlanim, also part of the group, of course, Aquilino Sosaya. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that addition. Yes, Vice Chairman Samo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also want to make a very, very brief statement. But before I do that, biro sa nabilipad on to all of you traditional leaders in this nation and here in this room and also on this very land on which I am currently residing. I've been making it my home for the last several years with my employment with this national government. If you would allow me, I would like to make a very, very brief statement. Mr. President, at the beginning of our convention, I made a statement thanking the people of the Mortlocks for electing me to represent them. And at the same time, I shared with the honorable delegates that I value our nation's unity so much so that I would not support any proposal that would fragment our unity. Today, I thank you because fragmenting our unity, our nation's unity, we did not. And I emphasize that word, we did not. Upholding it, we did. Proposing changes to our Constitution to make it more relevant and realistic to today's challenge, we certainly did. We've achieved what our people voted us. These 8 proposed amendments we've passed resulted from heated discussion, ability to negotiate, and commitment to move from today to tomorrow to make things better for the people of this nation. I also want to thank each and every one of you, honorable delegates, for your leadership, wisdom, and willingness to make things work. Yes, knowledge of the FSM laws, experience in the parliamentarian procedure and rules of procedure, and having a beautiful voice like my good delegate Bossy are all important elements of our work. They enrich us. But to me, the most important qualification is having a good heart and love in our common humanity. They unite us. All of you far exceeded that qualification. You pushed important issues for the state and local government development, which at the end will still strengthen our national development agenda. Being part of this body, I learned many things from each and every one of you. Thank you. I learned that nothing is impossible when we put our minds and hearts together for the common good. Thank you for showing me what true statesmen and stateswomen you all are. Lastly, I'm sure you will agree with me that our work has just started. Each one of us, in our own way, has an obligation to make sure our people, the people who sent us here, understand the intent and meaning of these proposals. Yes, we've completed the assignment, but they will not bear fruit if they don't effectuate change. Change to those provisions of our FSM Constitution that are no longer relevant is what we need today. I hope we all stay the course until these proposed amendments bear fruit. Thank you, and until again. Chair, I will submit this for the record.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Sam. And likewise, of course, the other statements are part of the journal recording. Thank you. Any other miscellaneous business?
Mr. President,
Yes, Delegate Knight, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. President. I present my compliments to you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Floor Leader, and Mr. Chair of the COW, including all fellow delegates and all staff. I do not have a speech to make because I do concur with the directive by my friend Delegate Ricky Candero, who said that having served in the last 3 constitutional conventions has disqualified me from making any philosophical or inspirational speech. But I do have a story, call it a satire, which I would like to share with you before we go our separate ways in a few days. It is a story about 24 practical Micronesians, 22 men and 2 ladies, who met about 2 years ago because they had a very big assignment, which they had to complete in 45 formal meeting days. But there was an act of that they practical nations from assignments early had to. And some say it was of when it present human. Understand, why do they make God look like a mean fellow? These are not practical Micronesians. The assignment involved the use of what is known in the Chugis language as yes, which I am sure is used throughout the FSM. It means breadfruit picking pole. This is an indispensable, versatile household item or tool that each Micronesian man or family have to have. Yes is very important measurement that experienced navigators used at sea to kite them back to the safety of dry land. In important ways, all the 24 practical Micronesians were fruit pickers and seafarers. The Chugis fruit pickers were led by Chairperson Cindy Mori and Delegate Kando, who engaged in their early morning daily ritual of Amor Kangit. In fact, Amor Kangit is a finesse form of art of picking mangoes. After their daily ritual, Delegates Mori and Kando brought their baskets always full of Fajuk's world-renowned mango. But beware, because while the Fajukis have generous hearts, they can be very nationalistic about their organic mango. For the Kushrayans, Delegate Asher had learned his lesson well not to ruffle feather with the Chugis. So he passed on the baton to his Kushayan colleagues. And Chairperson Yoslin Sikra is not one to walk away when Kushaya's dignity is at stake. She figured she had to showcase Kushaya's tangerine, which she argued at trial division all the way to the top is the only kind in the world. To pick her tangerine, however, she had to borrow a Chugi's yes, which with which she waged war with delegates Bossy and, and Risen over Mount Taracha. Why? Because she claimed that Mount Taracha was once a historic mansion of the Achao dynasty transported to Weta on a thrift log. While hanging in the village of Sapu in the hope of meeting the requirements to become a dual citizen of Chuk or Chuk, then the title confirms history. For him along the island, yet, but never much under magic of Pythagorean plumeria, especially of Udot men. Chor invited many Yapis to come to Udot, but never found excluded the floor. Would not plumeria from Udot 10-foot yes. It is risk some map. Smart own chairman right in the defense. I am of that the fields kingdom happening in the Northwest and has been work. He wants exchange, yet is special not. That stone money is too big to be deposited in the World Bank. They tried partnering with the Chugis, who just gained the habit of chewing, and sought to convince Chairman Jack Fritz and Delegate Roger Arnold that Yappy's betel nut is a credible item of foreign aid exchange based on tradition and historic use. The Yappies are not only practical, they are very innovative. They are, after all, was not the legendary Olafat from Falalap Island in Ulithi. For the Ponapeans, they love bragging about their local red apple, just as Chairman Mason Albert and Delegate Rick Candero argued among themselves who had the best yam, sakao, and pig. Let's not argue with them. Just let them as hosts of the seat of the national government to bring their best fruits and crop to the party later this evening. The truth of the matter is that as fruit pickers, often with the use of the IAS, we all came together and faced the painful lesson that despite our individual ambitions and pride of ownership, we had to throw our different fruits into an electric food blender. This is the nature of our assignment: to collect fruits and mix them up together in the fruit blender. Look at the beauty of what we have done at the end of 45 meeting days. A new fruit juice that we will take to the people. It's the fruit juice of choice, the blend and the toil of the hands of all and not an individual delegate. Thank you all for making use of the Micronesian yes in picking fruits for all of us in this convention. And thank you all for keeping me in your company as devoted Micronesian fruit pickers. Thank you and safe travel home.
Thank you very much, Delegate Knight, for that nice statement you got us made. Thank you very much. Any other miscellaneous business? Yes, Delegate Kanto.
Mr. President,
Uh,
as they say in sport,
what is it?
when you play the Los Angeles Lakers, don't run because they are the master of fast break. So I'm not going to talk the way the previous speakers have talked because I cannot keep up with them. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and all the officers, fellow delegates. First, Kristo gari araw sa Fayjuk, Ferrari gari Novi Potupin, Yawamot, Igaray, Awe Sirataga, Foku Kristo Jabur. Second, I would like to thank the interim president of the College of Magnesia FSM for approving my leave to participate in this convention. Third, to my dear wife for giving up 30 days of our lovely days together to allow me to be here at the convention in Ponte. Very quick, seri note, delegates napton wijugro, ay kapong nag-iriso gari. To all my colleagues, you all, delegates, staff, of this 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, I would like to leave you with a poem. I'm going to recite a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and the title of the poem, How Do I Love Thee? So here it is. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the ends of being an ideal grace, I love thee to the level of everyday's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with a passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose. With my lost saints, I love thee with that breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Delegate Kanto, for that nice poem regarding love. And we love each other. Thank you. Thank you. Any other miscellaneous business? If none, I wish to...
Mr. President,
Yes.
can I just...
Go ahead. Vice Chairman Louis.
Thank you. I know I already made my statement, but I just want to add something to Delegate Albert and Delegate Simon. For those who are leaving, I would like to bid you farewell as a delegate, because this evening, while we're going to be enjoying, I am going to bid you farewell, but it's going to be tentatively, not going to be delegate anymore. So for the last time, as a delegate, I bid you all farewell for those of you who are leaving and going back to our good islands to start with the educational process. And I hope it is appropriate, and I submit a motion if it's appropriate, that we call the amendment submitted by my favorite proxy in this convention the Kanto Amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your last comment about Kanto Amendment, I think that is questionable because we have yet to formalize. Thank you. Any other comments before I make the last one? If silence means no, we're ready to conclude. I wish to make a statement, closing statement. My dear Fairo, on Vice President Isunan Keniriati, Chief Nabayan Floor Leader Yadelman, Co-Chairman Asher, and you, our distinguished delegates, as well as our staff. It is with great pleasure and honor for me, as President of our 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, to formally announce that today our convention has completed its mandate as set forth by Public Law number 21-19 as amended. As delegates elected by our people over 2 years ago, in November 2019, we were mandated by the said public law to review the supreme law of our land, our FSM Constitution, and to propose amendments or changes to it as we find appropriate and necessary. I can proudly say that we have diligently carried out this mandate during these past 14 work meeting days, which actually started on January 7, 2020. The proposed constitutional amendments which we had adopted at this convention included the 2 constitutional proposed amendments which we had adopted before we went into recess on March 13, 2020, and the other 6 proposals which we had just adopted since we reconvened this convention at the beginning of this month, June 2022. Our citizens will now be given the opportunity to exercise their sovereign rights to vote on these proposed amendments during the referendum, which may be scheduled to take place in the coming months. There is no question that this 4th FSM Constitutional Convention is one of the most, if not the most challenging convention which our nation had experienced. As stated above, we first convened this convention on January 7, 2020, which is more than 2 years from now, and we had expected to complete our task within the 45 days as provided by Public Law 21-19 as amended. Based on certain events beyond our control, we took a short recess about a month after we first convened, and we then reconvened in late February 2020. But our convention abruptly went into another recess on March 13, 2020, which was Friday the 13th, to the national emergency declaration caused by the coronavirus pandemic. You may recall that during the long recess, 2 of our esteemed colleagues, Delegate Samuel Camilo Noquet and Delegate Peter Sitan, both of our care of unexpectedly passed away. The replacements, Delegate Risin and Delegate Arnold, respectively, were selected to continue their terms in this convention. Of course, these new delegates had joined our convention when we reconvened during the first part of this month. In my opening statement in January 2020, I had mentioned that this 4th FSM Constitutional Convention should be focusing on possible changes or amendments to our national constitution which would contribute to further strengthening unity and economic prosperity for our young nation. I personally feel that most of the proposed amendments, if not all, which we had adopted during these past 45 meeting days of our Constitutional Convention, are generally in support of such objectives. Hopefully, these proposed amendments will be accepted by our people during the upcoming referendum. The dual citizenship proposal, which we had adopted at this convention, where we went into recess over 2 years ago, was also adopted during the last 2 FSM Constitutional Conventions, but it failed to pass during those previous referendums, primarily due to some misunderstanding on the merits of that amendment. Hopefully, additional information and explanation during the upcoming education on the proposed amendments will result in its approval by our citizens along with the other proposed constitutional amendments which we had adopted during this convention. The proposal on the sharing of the fishing fees revenues between our national government and the 4 state governments is a major decision out of this convention. And if passes by our citizens during the upcoming referendum, this will definitely result in increasing revenues for our 4 state governments to support their operation costs, as well as for funding the urgently needed capital infrastructure and development projects in those states, thus enhancing their economic prosperity for our 4 states. The constitutional amendment proposal relating to the creation of an office for an independent prosecutor at the national government is in line with the growing need for enhancing good governance and accountability of public funds and government services provided or to be provided for our national government elsewhere. The other proposed constitutional amendments which were adopted at this convention should further contribute to the ongoing nation-building efforts in the coming years, which started our founding fathers of our nation in 1975, when the first Micronesian Constitutional Convention took place on Saipan. At this juncture, on behalf of all of us, the delegates of this 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, as well as our Secretariat staff, I wish to convey our profound gratitude and appreciation to President Panuelo, Vice President George, and their cabinet members and staff from our National Government Executive Branch, as well as Speaker Simina and members of our FSM Congress for their support and assistance to our convention, without which we will not be able to effectively carry out our mandates as per Public Law number 21/19 and other pertinent laws and regulations. Likewise, I wish to extend our thanks and appreciation to Acting Chief Justice, FSM Chief Justice Julian Carl Westwick at our FSM Judiciary Branch for providing some legal and administrative support staff when we first convened in January, including our first journal clerk, Mr. Eliezer. We are very encouraged by President Panuelo's interest in including us, the delegates of this convention, to be part of the National Education Task Force, which will be charged with the responsibility in educating our citizens on these proposed constitutional amendments before the actual referendum takes place, which we hope should be soon. This will ensure that these proposed amendments are well explained to our citizens before we vote on them during the referendum. As today will be our last final day of our 4th FSM Constitutional Convention, and that this will be my last day as president of this convention, I wish to express my personal gratitude to each and every one of you for entrusting with this awesome responsibility in leading our convention these past 45 meeting days, which actually started on January 7, 2020. As I had mentioned in the beginning of this statement, this convention is probably the most challenging one, given the numerous challenges which we had encountered since we first convened at that time, primarily due to the coronavirus pandemic, which caused our abrupt recess in March 2020. Fortunately, as we all know, this pandemic never reached our source, as FSM is one of the few remaining countries in the whole world that has this distinction. In this regard, I wish to again reiterate our thanks and appreciation to our national leaders, namely President Panuelo and Vice President George, as well as Speaker Simina and members of our FSM Congress, including our state leaders, for their efforts in keeping us safe from this pandemic. I applaud each and every one of you for your personal perseverance and determination to carry out our mandate to complete the noble task of reviewing our FSM Constitution, which our people had entrusted us to do when they first elected us in November 2019. Your active participation in our plenary sessions, as well as in the various standing committee meetings these past 45 meeting days and other meetings relating to this convention during the past 2.5 years, have been very useful in achieving consensus on the various proposed amendments to our FSM Constitution, which has been adopted and will constitute as the final outcome of this convention. I appreciate very much your candid comments and views on which each of you had expressed on each of the proposed amendments, which were introduced and acted upon during this convention. I know that it has not been easy to achieve consensus on these proposals, but through our Micronesian way, consensus was reached and achieved to dispose each of them, especially those proposed amendments which we had adopted at this convention. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my other colleagues, officers of this convention, Vice President Isonanken Ariati, Floor Leader Yatalman, and Committee of the Whole Chair Asher, for their cooperation and wisdom in sharing ideas and suggestions on other issues this past 2.5 years relating to our convention, which we have discussed in our various officers group meetings, not only during these past 45 meeting days, but also during the period we were in recess this past 2.5 years. Furthermore, I would also like to express on our behalf our deep appreciation to our legal counsel, Ms. Kathleen Perch, our convention secretary, Mr. Kapile, and the other legal and administrative support staff, including our pages. We want to thank them individually for their hard work and dedication in carrying out their assigned duties during our meeting days, as well as during the period we were in recess. I know it must be very challenging for our legal counsel, Ms. Perch, to oversee our convention plenary sessions as well as other committee meetings through virtual means, since we will convene this convention earlier this month. But I am happy to note that she has been able to successfully provide the needed services that we need to complete our convention. Our special thanks also go to Ms. Jessica Regis as our Chief Clerk for this convention, also to Ms. Kristen Simon as our General Clerk for this session during these convention sessions. Likewise, I want to also thank our IT staff for their hard work in providing the needed technical support in our meetings these past 19 days, without which it would not be possible and easy for our colleagues to join our meetings virtually. Finally, I state for the record that I will certainly cherish for the rest of my life unique experience and opportunity as president of our fourth FSM Constitutional Convention. And I had enjoyed every moment of it, in spite of the other challenges which I had encountered during the course of my presidency of this very important convention the past 2.5 years. Thank you all, and God bless us all, including our leaders, and God bless our nation, the Federated States of Micronesia. It is so Jabur, Karangan, Kamagar, and Pulau Malala. Thank you.
Mr. President, recess.
I call for a short recess. I now call back our session to order. We are on miscellaneous business. Any other statements or comments by anyone? Floor leader.
Mr. President, thank you. I move that the next amount of money be authorized to be obligated for to support the respective state delegations' post-convention activities, especially relating to briefing with the state leadership, provided, however, that the first priorities would be given to making sure that there's money available for the salaries of convention staff, and then also for other expenses that have been incurred before that can be determined. Thank you.
Thank you. Any second to the long motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that there shall be that motion. Discussion. We have exhausted.
Sir,
Yes,
yeah, just for
Senator Candero.
clarification purposes, does it make sense to actually specify post-convention activities? If we look at the budget in general, there's a category that's set up within our budget to covering anything that has to do with public awareness during convention. So while I support the motion, I'm not certain it's legally viable for us to mark it as post-convention. Activities like this is provided in our budget. There's a category for it, same as the budget for staff and everyone else. So I'm just a bit uncomfortable marking it as post-convention because of the fact that we just can't do that. But there is a category within our current budget that we can invoke and use to undertake this activity.
Thank you very much, Senator Candero.
So, are we still in session or recess?
We are.
Yeah.
We are in session.
So maybe I will amend my motion and exclude the word post-convention from it.
Okay, we're still on that main motion. So are you making the amendment to your motion? Okay, that's the amendment, formal amendment. Okay, to remove that word post-convention. Do we have the disciplinary rules right there? No. Okay. So it was seconded?
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that said amendment to the main motion shall be acted on favorably. If no other discussion, all those in favor of the amendment to the main motion say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. So we have that main motion as amended. So any other discussion on the main motion as amended? It's been moved and seconded that we stop debate. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed say nay. So we are ready. We have stopped debate. So therefore we move on to the main motion at hand to adopt the main motion as amended by floor leader. All those in favor of the main motion as amended say aye. All those opposed say nay. So motion carried. Thank you. So moving on, any other miscellaneous business? Yes, Chairman Passes.
I just wanted to follow up the package for each delegation on those past proposals are prepared and ready to be picked up, so we can take it with us tomorrow.
Okay, yes, that was a urgent request to our secretariat. So hopefully they will be prepared in time before your trip tomorrow. Thank you. Any other miscellaneous business?
I just have one more.
Yes,
Mr.
go ahead.
President. On the letter to the President from us transmitting the proposals, from me, I would like to see the letter to emphasize a bit more on the declaration that's in place that calls for the establishment of the public awareness team. For me, I would like to see our letter transmit the proposals and also speak a little bit towards that the need to update the declaration and get it up and running, because that's the key element to getting the public awareness across. We need him to sign up on the new declaration as soon as possible. Once he signs off, then things will kick in place naturally. So that's really important for us. A little bit of emphasis on that, I would appreciate that. At the same time, it's my understanding that the amount of money that's been set aside for post-education, public education, in the amount of about $85,000. That money was injected into the pre-con budget that was put together in anticipation of us being part of the public awareness campaign. While it was constructed out of anticipation, the eagerness for us to be part of that. So the 485,000, it's there, but one of the rationale why we plugged it in was to what gave birth to the 485,000 is really inputs from their respective delegations to provide their own opinion of how to conduct public education in their respective state. So if you look at the budget for the 485, it's broken down in detail. For example, in Pohnpei, this is the exact amount that we're going to get from the 485, and these are the activities that we plan to do post-convention to public education. Same with Yap, Pishay, and Chuk. That their share of the 485 is already provided in the budget. Their activities that they will do in the using their share is already provided in the budget. And we did this to make it easier for President's consideration of not only the budget figure, but the activities prescribed, make it easier for him to say, oh, those are the activities that we want. So those things have already been broken up in detail. If you look at the current budget, it is very, very much in detail. Once the money is confirmed by the President, then the anticipation or expectation is that those activities can raise for us and for the campaign team. So all of these things were constructed and prescribed in advance in anticipation of us being part of the campaign process.
Thank you, Delegate Cantero, for this information. As former chairman of the Pre-Convention Committee, it's a very useful and pertinent information supporting what we had just agreed on by motion. Thank you. Any other miscellaneous business?
Mr. President?
Yes. Chairperson Sikra?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was hoping that I could hear some discussion on maybe giving us some heads up on what to tell, at least, if not the leadership, the constituents, when do they get to vote on this proposal? Do we tell them we just have to wait until the president says so, or can we get an idea? Is it going to be March next year, or is it sometimes before the year ends? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Sikra. That authority power fully rests with the President. Once we finish our task, we'll transmit our proposals, and the President's office, the President himself, will make that declaration. First forming the committee, task force, and then hopefully the date, some kind of target date for the referendum. That's going to be a function of the executive branch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it wishful thinking to ask the President of FSM if we can put in not with the Congress election? Is it just wishful thinking, or is it worth to ask, make that special request? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a very important issue. As we have discussed with the President, our officers in the past, the merits or demerits for having the referendum on the same date as the national election in March, or having a standalone different date. And of course, we can only make recommendation on that. Final decision will be made.
Recess, please.
Thank you. I call for a recess.
I think going into strategizing for our next step, or what to do with the proposals. I was hoping that, and I'm hoping that we don't try to separate it from the next election. I'm thinking that Congress would be campaigning for their seats. And these issues would be the key items for the people to engage them with. So
I'll call back our session to order. Now we're miscellaneous. Any other miscellaneous? If none, any announcements by anyone? Outgoing chairperson, chairman, committees, delegations? None? Floor leader?
Mr. President, I move that the fourth FSM Constitutional Convention adjourns.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that our fourth FSM Constitutional Convention that started January 2020, we are turning on this day, June 29,
28.
2022. Any other discussion? If none, again, before I declare, I thank you all for your time, your efforts, for participating in this very important fourth FSM Constitutional Convention that we have these 2.5 years. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Ayo.
I have not seen anything, so we need to vote on the motion as proposed, as made, to adjourn.
Oh,
Otherwise, we cannot continually live on as, right? Be nice, okay. Now, we have to vote on the main motion. Yes, Senator Arnold, you want to say something before we adjourn, and die? Or your light is on? Yes.
Thank you, President. I just want to say thank you to everyone, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. There were a lot of very important statements that was said before, and I do join everyone in the same sentiment. So again, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
you.
All right, since we're ready to vote on the main motion to adjourn, stand and down. All those, yes.
First of all, the CALFO, I volunteer to be the custodian of the CALFO on all your behalfs. Your class shelf, proudly displayed. So I will take care of it really, really well. If that's acceptable to you. I just wanted to register that, and I think the sentiments is around the table as well. How can we be a bit more strategic, knowing that it's likely that a special election will be held prior to let's say, if we in March for the main referendum. With that knowledge, just being serviced right now, I'm just a bit concerned the impact of that to the rest of the proposal. I support it completely, but I'm just a bit concerned on that. Getting our people to the ballot boxes maybe once or twice in very short time frame can be a bit difficult. But I'm just a bit concerned on that. So if it is possible, do you think it's strategically wise to have that special referendum be held as soon as possible to have a bit more further apart from the main proposals? I'm just throwing this out. I'm just concerned about it.
Yes, definitely.
I'm just concerned about it because I think it's important for us to talk about. And whichever decision that we decide to do, I think it should be reflected in the letter as well, our suggestion to the President. I'm just concerned that having those two elections right close to each other will be a bit more strategically unbalanced towards the other proposals. I'm sorry, but I just got to table this thing because proposal out, the results, because we can focus more on the other proposals, let's say in March. And also, if we delay beyond March, the longer it may also lose its rightness. So my thinking is March is probably the best time to target those. But I'm just concerned over the impact of having too many of these getting our people to the referendums multiple times in a very short time frame. Just wanted to say that.
Mr. President?
Thank you. Yes, Chairperson Chikura.
Yes, I share the concern raised by Contero. Although I don't want to be strategic, I'm just being realistic. And the fact of the matter is that you throw it with the March election, and it's all about the Congress. And with all due respect, they visited the people in the community, and it's about their agenda more than the proposals that were once upon a time worked so hard. We waited over it for 2.5 years or so. So we have to be strategic in trying to see how we can champion those proposals all the way to the very end. And I agree that we should have a referendum ahead of separate elections or voting on those proposals. Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
President,
you. Yes,
can we go to recess?
yes, I call for a short recess.
Yeah.
We need to vote on it. We need to go back and now call back our session to order. Now we're back after a short recess. We need to vote on the.
Maybe they analyze that it wants you higher, then another.
All those in favor of the motion.
Elevator.
All those